Well, Sam, that is obviously a long way away. I've got to say the contrast. When I first got into politics, a really smart guy tell me, this is a game of contrasts. Campaigns are all about contrasts. How do you contrast yourself with your opponents? And I've just got to say, regardless of how anybody may feel about DOJ or feel about some of these other issues, the contrasts are extraordinary. You have veterans being fired from the federal workforce by the world's richest man in the world, who is literally going around wielding a chainsaw. You have the VA being slashed and burned as far as cuts go there. You have veterans' health care benefits being put at risk in a very just shocking way. And that's happening at a time where we still have a lot of vets that are struggling from mental health challenges coming out of Iraq and Afghanistan. You have the world's richest man calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme. You have another billionaire that's running the Commerce Department that says if a senior citizen in America who doesn't get a Social Security check, because you have the administrator of the Social Security Administration saying he may shut down the Social Security Administration offices because he didn't like a judge's order. You've got that billionaire actually saying if a senior citizen doesn't get their check, that keeps the power on in their house, that allows them to pay their rent, that allows them to pay for their medicine, that they're fraudsters. And Sam, Alex said we ought to just play that clip. Let me play the clip, and then we'll get to you on the other side of it. Play the clip real quick.
Let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks this month. My mother-in-law, who's 94, she wouldn't call and complain. She just wouldn't. She'd think something got messed up, and she'll get it next month.
Yeah.
A fraudster always makes the loudest noise, screaming, yelling, and complaining. And if all the guys who did PayPal, like Elon knows this by heart, right? Anybody who's been in the payment system and the process system knows the easiest way to find the fraudster is to stop payments and listen.
Yeah.
Because whoever screams is the one stealing.
I mean, his mother wouldn't complain because she's got a billionaire for a son. Hey, son, my $364 didn't come in this past month because you said, is he serious? This, by the way, he's like running the Commerce Department.
That's crazy.
And you've got the world's richest man on the planet that's going around, again, firing vets, slashing VA health care, and saying that Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. I'm usually skeptical when people say that campaign ads write themselves. But my God, as I said before, if the Democrats can't do something with this, they should get into the used car selling business.
Yeah, they should disband. If you can't make anything out of this, you should just
go to
give
France.
Up. Yeah, at that point. I honestly, when I saw it, I had to do a double take, and I rewound it because I couldn't believe he said it. I've never heard such a disorienting statement politically in what, 17, 18
Sam.
years. It's crazy. I think you're getting at something really important here, and I think this is why Bernie's reaching people. Let's just take two things Howard Lutnick said over the past week. One was that statement in which he said his mother wouldn't complain. And obviously that sounds crazy coming from someone who's a billionaire. But then the other thing he did is he went on TV and he said he encouraged people to buy Tesla stock. And I think that's the contrast, really, that Bernie and AOC and others are getting at, which is you're telling poor people not to complain about cuts to Social Security. At the same time, you're turning around and trying to pump up the stock for the richest man in the world who happens to be a Trump advisor. And that's oligarchy. That is oligarchy. And that's why 34,000 people are coming out to Denver. Now, I will say the other reason that 34,000 people are coming out to Denver is this. And this is where the Democrats need to step it up, frankly. Remember back in 2017, the first day or the second day of the Trump administration was the Women's March. And from there on out, there were just constant outlets for people to channel their anger and frustration and rage with the Trump administration. And you saw a lot of protestation. This time around, there has not been that. You've seen some Tesla protests, and you've seen Bernie and AOC do their tour. But the Democratic Party really has not provided channels for people to express their frustration and anger. And I think if they want to capitalize on this moment, as much as it's about ideology, I don't think it's that much about ideology. It's about figuring out avenues for voters to come into the party. And that's where Schumer may have made a strategically smart decision to keep the government open or not. But he does, going forward, tactically need to figure out how to get all that anger and activism channeled behind Democrats. And AOC and Bernie have done it, but I haven't seen others in the party figure it out.
Yeah, and that's certainly right, that there's this despair and there's this thought that Democrats are too depressed to engage. That's not true. Some are, yes, but others are angry and, to Sam's point, want to find these outlets. We should also note, I think, Representative Ocasio-Cortez is really smart framing there of common sense, adopting the Trump language. That's what he started saying at the end of the campaign and during the transition in these early months of his term, to say common sense. And she's saying, no, not so fast. And Mika, on the Howard Lutnick part, we're seeing, I'm told by those in the Trump orbit, that he and Musk both right now are drawing the ire of some close to the president, who are saying he's just creating more negative headlines. With that tone-deaf comment there, Social Security is something that, at least publicly, Trump has said we will not touch, even though others have suggested they might. And they think this sort of thing not helpful. Lutnick on a little bit of thin ice right now.
Democrats, Joe, might be getting their message back.
Well, I mean, the message has always been there. They've gotten distracted when they've gone off the economy and taken positions that 85% of Americans have disagreed with, or have been afraid of their own shadow, and haven't fought back on the most basic things, the stupidest things that they should have fought back on. I want to circle back, though, on AOC. And Claire, you know, Democrats over the past, let's say, 4 years, not you, for God's sake, because you were just the opposite. But Democrats, at times, some of their national leaders were afraid to confront people who disagreed with them. We certainly saw that throughout the presidential campaign. We see Democrats are starting to do that. But right after the election, I was really impressed by the fact that AOC was looking for people in her district who voted for both her and voted for Donald Trump. And she would say, I'm fascinated. Tell me why you did that. What connects the two of us? Because we seem to be completely opposite. And when you start hearing her going out there talking the way she's talking, it is a remarkable thing when and I'm not saying she hasn't done this in the past, but it's remarkable when politicians like you get out, knock on doors, talk to people who disagree with you. And that sharpens your message. And I'm hearing it in AOC's message right now, which is, I believe in dignity for you. I believe that you ought to be able to afford your home. I believe that you ought to be able to afford basic health care. I believe you deserve working wages for the hard job. And she goes, and that doesn't make me a socialist. I'm not a Marxist because of that. I'm saying that because I was a waitress. And then she goes to common sense. And boom, that connects with everybody.
Yeah, and by the way, one of Trump's lawyers, I forget how you say her name, Alina Hababa or Habab. She went on TV. Yeah, she went on TV and basically made fun of AOC for having been a bartender. And AOC turned it around very quickly and said, you know, she's not criticizing me. She's criticizing you. She's looking down at you. All of you Americans who are working an extra shift, everyone who is waiting tables and serving beer at a bar, trying to find a way to the American dream. Listen, this is a great communicator. She is a good, really good communicator, and she's smart. And one thing she's done that I don't think she has trumpeted, but I sure noticed, is she has not been out there voting by herself against most Democrats. She has not been. She really, I hate to use the dreaded word moderated, because I know that's not what she would want me to say, but she has. She has been somebody who's been willing to play on a team, not on a squad, but on a team. And clearly right now, she understands where this anger is coming from, and she understands that Donald Trump is turning his back on his base in favor of his billionaire bros.
It's what needs to be done, and she's doing it. So we have